Welcome, everyone, to the Inclusion Podcast. I'm Dr. Julie Costin.
And I'm Dr. Christy Preddy-Franzak. We're so glad you're here as we explore all things inclusion.
So whether you're a school leader, an educator, a parent, or simply passionate about inclusion, this podcast is for you.
In each episode, we go beyond the usual conversations, diving into what truly makes inclusive education work.
Together, let's make a difference, one conversation at a time. Here we go. How are we at episode 75 already, Christy? This is awesome.
It's making me feel old.
Right? Okay, podcast episode 75, and it's all about we need to stop training kids for a life that none of us would want.
I don't know. I needed this years ago.
I know. I think about this in big and small ways. And I think today we're going to go kind of between the micro and the macro when it comes to this concept. And so I'm going to start a little bit at the micro, which is these ideas that we often say in schools, we're preparing students for the real world. All right. And so what we often mean is that we're saying things like they're going to have to do this as adults. The real world isn't flexible. Work isn't actually fun. Right?
Maybe, unless you work in inclusive schooling.
Well, that's exactly it, Christy. Maybe, and that's where we need to go, which is maybe, but adult life actually includes choice, flexibility, accommodations. You can quit a bad job if you possibly can. It involves remote work. It involves headphones. It involves breaks. It involves movement. It involves snacks. It involves legal protections. And we have an outdated idea of the real world and what it looks like, sounds like, and feels like. And what we're often thinking is almost a factory-based job that, the whistle blows and you get time off, et cetera. We know our systems are designed in those ways. And yet, our real world has evolved in so many ways. And yet we're still preparing kids for the whistle to whistle kind of idea.
Well, and Julie, I think it still has so much to do with colonialism and the whiteness of the culture that we live in, our ideas about the role of education. And, even before the pandemic, you and I talk a lot about what is the definition of inclusive education. I would invite people always to say, what is the purpose of early care and education? We've taken the word care out of it and just called it early childhood education, but it's really early care and education. Well, what does that mean? And so what is the purpose of education, which I know we can't conquer in this episode. But I do think that kind of wondering is when did we decide kids should sit in desks? When did we decide that these were the standards of the next century learner? Where do they stem from? And for me, they stem from the white dominant culture and a lot of our ideals around what it means to be a good human. And so that's where it starts to get really messy as well for me.
Absolutely. And schools are not built for variation. They're not built for neurodiversity. They're not built for. And so put all that together. And we're asking some micro and macro questions today. And I just wanted to open up, it's not going to be a super linear podcast, but I wanted to open up different thoughts in your head about how do we make our schools more like real life, meaning more like adult real life, meaning with more choices built in, with more flexibility, with more accommodations, with options to quit, with, remote work, with headphones, with breaks, with movement. All those pieces are part of the real world that we want to bring into schools instead of.
Well, and Julie, we always say that disability is just human diversity. In the real world,
yeah,
we're working hard all the time to value and honor the diversity and to make the workplace, the community, a sense of belonging. Not everyone is working towards that goal, but for those of us who are committed to this work around equity and sense of belonging and fairness and liberation, then these are the ideals that we want to uphold. And our educational system should mirror that future reality.
Yeah, I want to just give like a few different examples of this. So I'm just going to kind of go through a couple examples. So school says sit still for 7 hours, but adult reality says that's unhealthy and HR would intervene.
Yeah,
School,
hopefully. I
schools,
mean, I got to talk in HR at my job, but that's all. We won't get into
different
that.
story, different story, Christy. School says do the work you hate exactly as assigned without complaint. Adult
People are
re
like, that's my job description, Julie.
No, if you look closely, you redesign, you delegate, you automate, or you leave. If we have the flexibility to do that, that's what it looks
If
like.
we have the privilege to do that.
The privilege to do that.
Yeah.
School says you must earn access to comfort, movement, or choice. Those are basic working conditions, says adult reality.
If you
School
have a
says,
union.
right, you
Okay,
can
I'll stop.
unionize. School says your needs are disruptive. Adult reality says needs can be negotiated, accommodated, and protected.
Yeah.
And so this big bad real world isn't what we need to prepare kids for. And we even do something kind of more significant for kids with disabilities.
Yeah. I
And I'm
think
going to,
that's the real inequity starts to show up, Julie, that like this is the one place where all does mean all, meaning like we're generally doing this bad for everybody, but then we
yeah,
actually do it even worse. The more you are not white, the more you are not able-bodied, the more you don't speak English, the more you don't follow binary gender trends, right? That
right.
the more you're away from that dominant culture, the more we take away choice, take away acceptance, take away options.
That's right.
Take, yeah, because you don't have the privilege.
That's right. That's right. And so we're going to kind of go to the worst variation of this concept, which is called
Okay.
life skills rooms.
Is
Do,
this
do,
macro
do.
or micro at this perspective?
For me, it's like the macro. So I'm going
Okay.
from like small things all day, every day for all kids that are
Gotcha.
problematic in schools. And then I'm bringing it to the macro to go, we have huge
Um,
systems
yeah,
prepared to get kids ready for the real world.
because we have buildings or classrooms or programs district
Ugh.
wide. Okay.
Yeah. And these are the ones that actually make me. So Christy and I have visited, I would say collectively, I'll just speak for myself, Christy. I've probably visited 200 different segregated class, more than that for sure.
Oh, yeah.
500.
Classrooms. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we spend time looking at these places and spaces. They're often called life
I've
skills
taught in
rooms.
them, Julie.
Christy spent a longer time than I have.
And I'm older than you. So this is a sad story today. But yes, we have
Yes.
deep and wide experience. Now, before we go any further, just a second, I interrupted you. But Julie, we
Mhm.
often see, and this happens on social media all the time when we talk about life skills rooms, we hear from life skills teachers
Yeah.
and they say, hey, my classroom is the only place the kid is not bullied. My classroom is the only place that the kid is honored or their needs are met. My classroom is not a bad place. So, could you speak a little bit to, I don't know if it's intention versus impact, because I think it's true. I think it is often true that this is a place where a student is welcome or allowed to be diverse. That doesn't make it right or okay, but we're not saying all life skills classroom teachers are bad people or harming
No.
their kids. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's going to be
Right.
both sides of my mouth. I know.
Yeah, no, so I mean, it's a systems problem. It's a problem to say that kids with disabilities need more quote unquote life skills than everybody else. It's a systems problem to say that we're going to work on laundry and cleaning and certain level and type of skill in certain rooms, but not others. And it doesn't mean that the folks that work in those places are bad people. Absolutely not. And I will say, Christy, a lot of people say to me, "No, no, no, my classroom isn't that way." And then I walk in there
Yeah,
and I find it to
too.
feel like 1950. Literally, just the other day, we were in a classroom where they were working on how to write out days of the week in cursive, all these kids with disabilities in one room because they might, quote unquote, have to put them on a check at some point. And I don't know, Christy, if you've ever written a check before, but I doubt you wrote the word the day of the week and the whole thing. It
I
just,
haven't even written a check in this century, probably.
exactly. That's the thing is when we look in life skills classrooms, we see people preparing for outdated pasts and futures. And so kids with disabilities get the worst version of this, which means we're going to prepare you for a life we don't want, a life with fewer choices, a life with more monitoring, a life with very, 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 very low expectations, a life with constant correction and reduced autonomy.
I would
Eh,
also say repetition. Did you have that on your list anywhere?
No, thank you, Christy.
Because, like the life skills classroom we were in the other day about where the kids, I don't know, they must have been middle school, maybe early high school. They were still practicing the five senses.
Oh, yeah. Or,
And that's like, oh my gosh, we teach, and I don't remember who we were with, but somebody was like, don't they teach that in preschool? And
mhm,
we're like, yes, but if you're a student with a disability, you get it in preschool, kindergarten, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, you keep getting it.
that's right. I was in a self-contained classroom in a state in the Midwest where they were reading The Very Hungry Caterpillar every
Yeah.
morning.
Yeah.
The Very Hungry Caterpillar every morning with high school age
Yeah.
students with
I mean, it's a
autism.
fine book. Don't get us wrong, Eric, but.
Right. It is a fine book. I enjoy the book once, twice, maybe once a year. I don't
If
know.
you're a preschool teacher, sure, you've had to read it 100 million times.
Sure.
That's just
But
where it should end.
that's where we see that repetition, the
Yeah.
low expectations, and the concept being that kids are going to have to master this idea of sitting still in a circle and listening to a picture book, I guess, even when they're in high school because they haven't mastered it yet, question mark. I mean, some of it I just don't even understand why we're doing the things we're doing in these quote unquote life skills rooms. But I will tell you that after visiting as many as we visited, the practice in general needs to stop. And we need to start to give kids access to things like, I don't know, content, curriculum, and peers without disabilities, higher expectations, support, leadership, creativity, self expression, independence, the things that really, really we want to see in the real world.
Well, how to navigate relationships, how
Yeah.
to have friendships, how to keep a job. Like that's all this human interaction stuff and interacting with people. Now, people are going to say kids are going to get bullied and we just got an email the other day from a friend saying that a kid was being bullied because their sibling has Down syndrome. So it wasn't even the kid with the disability being bullied, it was the sibling.
Hmm.
Yeah, this crap happens all the time. And that's why we have to start early and throughout our communities for acceptance and learning how to navigate when we are different, have different perspectives and different preferences and how to form friendships and be okay with like not everybody has to be my friend, but I don't tell you, you're an idiot, go away. I
Hmm.
find some other skills to say I don't want to play with you.
That's right. That's right. So we have a download today that's kind of exciting, and it's really about how to close down those life skills rooms. And Christy, tell them where they can get this download and why they might want to access it and kind of what's there. So just give us the
Okay.
whole scoop on this
Sure. I'll give you
download.
the quick overview.
Okay.
So, like Julie said, we're kind of doing micro and macro. At some point, we want you to take action. So, this handout is at inclusiveschooling.com/download 75, and it's titled 12 Steps to Closing Life Skills Rooms. Now, as all things, Julie, like
Hmm.
you might not call it a life skills room. So you're like, this
Hmm.
is not for me. Well, look at some of our other episodes where we said, stop using behavior charts. And then people go, but we use unicorns. And we're like, no, that's still a behavior chart, right? So this
Hmm.
might take some time for you to go, oh, are we still doing these harmful, outdated practices, even though we call it something different? All right.
Hmm.
So this handout at inclusiveschooling.com/download 75 gives you 12 ways to start moving away from these practices that are harmful. And again, this is just like our work around racism. If you're white and you're like, hey, somebody's calling me a racist, that makes me a bad person. Those are not the same thing. You can be racist. I find myself tone policing people, gaslighting people. I don't mean to do it, but I totally am doing it. Macroaggressions, microaggressions, whatever you want to pick out in terms of my whiteness. Same thing with ableist. The other day, Julie and I were talking about March Madness. And she's like, can we call it something different? I'm like, no, it's March Madness. It's basketball. And she's like, and it's also ableist. And it's like, so I was using ableist language, but that doesn't mean I'm this horrible person. I just need to change and take action. So for me, Julie, these 12 steps are acknowledging that we've got ableist practices, big or small, right? Macro or micro, and we have to take action.
Yeah, and so this download is going to help you take action, and there are two really important ways to take action on this download is take a look at these places and spaces in your school and ask yourself, whose life are we training kids for here? And why would we want that for them?
Okay.
So that 12 steps to closing life skills are really good. And then if you're interested in sort of the bigger conversation, which would be how do I make our entire school more inclusive? We've got a link to the book, The Way to Inclusion, How Leaders Create Schools Where Every Student Belongs, which would be really helping you look systematically, thing by thing, at micro and macro levels of preparing kids for a life that is not what we would want for them. Thank you for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe and catch up on past episodes where we share valuable insights, straight talk, and practical steps to challenge outdated special education practices. You can find every episode with the show notes at inclusiveschooling.com/inclusion-podcast to build more inclusive schools together.